Engines don't die suddenly. They fade, quietly, long before the first warning light ever appears. Most drivers never notice the early signs, until the day the engine seizes, the car shuts down, and the repair bill feels like a punishment. But here's the truth. Your engine isn't failing because it's old. It's failing because of the small, invisible habits that destroy it from the inside. Every year, millions of engines are ruined by mistakes so simple that mechanics refuse to tell you how to avoid them. Because fixing those failures is exactly what makes them money. But today, you're going to learn the same secrets they don't want you to know. The ones that can make your engine outlive the car itself. What if I told you there are 15 hidden rules, tiny rituals and insider tricks that can double your engine's lifespan, boost performance, and prevent breakdowns before they ever happen? Most drivers don't follow even 3 of them, and forget what you've been told. It's not just about changing your oil. It's not about expensive additives. And it's definitely not about driving slow. The real secrets are deeper. Mechanical truths that even experienced drivers overlook. Number 15. The one habit that quietly saves your engine. Listening to micro changes. Most drivers think engines fail because of a single big event. Overheating, low oil, or a blown gasket. But the truth is far simpler and far more unsettling. Engines die because their owners ignore the tiny changes that whisper warnings long before the damage becomes visible. Every engine has a language, a slight vibration at idle, a faint ticking on a cold start, a new smell after a long drive. Small things, but they matter more than you think. Here's the secret. The fastest way to make your engine last forever is to pay attention to micro changes, those subtle shifts in sound, feel, or behavior. Mechanics can detect problems instantly because they're trained to notice what drivers overlook, and those tiny signs usually appear weeks or even months before a real failure. It's the difference between a $20 fix and a $2,000 disaster. When was the last time you actually listened to your engine instead of just driving it? Because your car is constantly telling you what it needs. Most people just never hear it. A slight drop in power could mean a clogged air filter. A new ticking noise might point to low oil pressure. A burning smell could be a leaking valve cover. These issues start small, stay small if caught early, and only become deadly when ignored. Now think about this. If your engine is giving you signs right now, would you even recognize them? And here's where the suspense lies. Many engines sound perfectly fine right up until the final 50 miles before catastrophic failure. The danger isn't what you hear. It's what you don't hear yet. Listen closely. Your engine is speaking. Catch the whispers before they turn into screams. Number 14. The cold start habit. That slowly destroys your engine. Most people don't realize this, but the moment you turn your key, or push that start button, your engine enters its most dangerous phase. Not at high speed, not on long trips, but in the first 15 seconds of a cold start. That's when more engine wear happens than during the next 30 minutes of driving. Why? Because when an engine sits overnight, all the oil drains back down to the bottom of the engine. The top end, camshaft, lifters, timing components, starts dry. When you start your car and instantly press the accelerator, you're forcing metal parts to move at high speed before the oil fully circulates. This is why mechanics beg drivers to stop revving a cold engine. They've seen perfectly good engines destroyed by this one habit. Here's the real secret. Let the engine idle for 10 to 20 seconds before you start driving. Not minutes, just seconds. That's enough time for oil pressure to stabilize and coat the internal components. After that, drive gently for the first 3 to 5 minutes, so the temperature rises evenly and the metal components expand at the right rate. This tiny change reduces long-term wear more than any expensive additive ever could. But here's the part most drivers never think about. Cold starts hit hardest in winter. Thick oil moves slower. Metal contracts, seals stiffen. A harsh winter morning can age your engine more than an entire month of normal driving. Do you give your engine those 20 seconds it needs, or do you rush it every single morning? If your engine could show you the damage happening in those first few seconds, would you change your habits instantly? Because here's where the suspense comes in. Many engines don't show any symptoms until the damage is already permanent. No noise, no warning light, Nothing. Then one day, the ticking starts. The power drops. And the repair bill hits like a hammer. Treat your engine gently when it's cold, because that's when it's most fragile. Number 13. The hidden enemy. Inside your engine. Ignoring fuel system cleanliness. Most drivers obsess over oil changes but forget the system that controls power, efficiency, and engine lifespan, your fuel system. Over time, tiny carbon particles start clinging to your injectors, valves, and combustion chamber. They don't arrive suddenly. They build up slowly, silently, like dust in a locked room. And once they reach a certain point, your engine begins to suffocate without you even realizing it. Here's why this matters. When injectors get partially blocked, they don't spray fuel in a fine mist anymore. Instead, they release uneven droplets that burn poorly. This leads to rough idling, power loss, higher fuel consumption, and eventually, misfires. Those misfires send unburned fuel into your exhaust, heating your catalytic converter and shortening its life. One small problem becomes a chain reaction. The real secret? Use a quality fuel system cleaner every 3,000 to 5,000 kilometers, especially if you drive short trips. Short trips never let the engine heat up enough to burn off deposits, making the buildup faster and more damaging. And once a year, have a mechanic perform a deep injector cleaning. This restores spray patterns, improves combustion, and keeps the engine running smooth, cool, and strong. But there's a more unsettling side to this. Carbon buildup doesn't always show symptoms early. Many engines run fine, until one day a sudden shudder at a stoplight signals that something has already gone wrong inside. When was the last time you treated your fuel system, not just your oil system? What if your engine has been losing power for months, but the decline was so slow you never noticed? Because that's the hidden danger. Carbon buildup creeps in quietly, like a shadow growing behind you. You don't feel it, until the performance drop becomes impossible to ignore. Keep your fuel system clean, and your engine will reward you with years of extra life. Number 12. The cooling system habit that prevents silent engine death. Your engine doesn't fail because it's weak. It fails because it overheats from the inside long before the temperature gauge ever reaches danger. And the real culprit is something most drivers never think about. Old, degraded coolant silently losing its power. Coolant isn't just colored water. It's a chemical shield that prevents corrosion, controls heat, and keeps your engine running at the perfect temperature. But over time, that shield breaks down. The protective additives weaken, the fluid becomes acidic, and microscopic rust starts forming inside the radiator, water pump, and cylinder head. This is where the danger begins. As corrosion grows, it narrows coolant passages. Water pumps start wearing out. Radiators clog from the inside. Bit by bit, your engine begins to run hotter. Not enough to trigger warning lights, but enough to age the engine faster than you can imagine. Here's the real secret. Flush and replace your coolant every 2 to 3 years, even if the engine seems fine. A proper coolant flush removes the hidden rust and acidic buildup that slowly destroys the system. Fresh coolant restores corrosion protection, keeps temperature stable, and prevents overheating before it ever starts. But the suspense lies in what you don't see. Engines can run slightly hot for months without any symptom. No steam, no obvious smell, no dashboard alert. But that extra heat warps gaskets, weakens hoses, and cracks plastic components, until one day, a sudden temperature spike destroys the engine in a matter of minutes. When was the last time you changed your coolant, not topped it up, but properly flushed it? If your coolant is already acidic and corroding the inside of your engine, would you even know? Because the truth is simple but powerful. Engines rarely die from overheating in one moment. They die from running slightly too hot for far too long. Protect your cooling system, and you protect your entire engine's lifespan. Number 11. The air filter habit that quietly strangles your engine. People think engine failure always comes from something dramatic. A blown gasket, a loud knock, overheating. But one of the most common killers is far more ordinary and almost always ignored. A dirty air filter slowly choking your engine. Your engine breathes. Every explosion inside the cylinders needs a perfect mix of fuel and clean, unrestricted air. When the air filter gets clogged with dust, debris, and microscopic dirt, The engine can no longer breathe freely. The result? Reduced power, poor combustion, higher fuel consumption, and eventually carbon buildup on pistons and valves. Most drivers forget that a restricted air filter forces the engine to work harder. The computer compensates by injecting more fuel to make up for the lack of air. That rich mixture burns inefficiently and leaves behind carbon that shortens engine life. And when dirt sneaks through a neglected filter, it scratches cylinder walls, damages sensors, and wears down internal components faster than you think. Here's the real secret. Replace your air filter every 10,000 to 15,000 kilometers, or even sooner if you drive in dusty areas. It's a cheap fix that dramatically improves engine health, fuel economy, and performance. And if your car has a cabin air filter, don't confuse the two. The cabin filter protects you, but the engine air filter protects the heart of your car. But the suspense comes from this uncomfortable truth. A dirty air filter rarely shows clear symptoms until the damage is already happening. You won't hear a noise. You won't see a warning light. The engine simply loses efficiency day by day until it feels weaker, slower, older. When was the last time you even looked at your engine air filter? What if your engine is struggling for air right now, but you've gotten so used to the slow decline that you can't notice it anymore? Let your engine breathe freely, and it will reward you with years of extra life. Number 10. The idling mistake that slowly eats your engine from the inside. Most drivers believe idling is harmless, that letting the engine run while parked is safer than restarting it. But the truth is far more surprising and far more damaging. Excessive idling quietly destroys your engine from the inside long before you ever notice a problem. Here's why. When your engine idles, it burns fuel inefficiently. The combustion temperature drops, the air-fuel mixture becomes richer, and unburned fuel begins sticking to your cylinder walls. Over time, this washes away the protective oil film the engine desperately needs. The result? Increased friction, accelerated wear, and carbon buildup that slowly steals power from your engine. Idling also causes moisture to accumulate in the exhaust system. Because the temperature stays low, that moisture doesn't evaporate. It condenses, rusts components, and shortens the lifespan of your muffler and catalytic converter. And if you drive mostly short trips, where the engine rarely reaches optimum temperature, this buildup becomes even worse. The real secret? Limit idling to 30 to 60 seconds whenever possible. If you're waiting for someone, stuck outside a shop, or letting the car warm up, you're hurting your engine more than you think. Modern engines warm up faster by driving gently, not by sitting still. But here's the suspenseful part. Engines damaged by long-term idling rarely show early symptoms. The decline is slow. So slow you don't notice until the engine begins shaking at stoplights or burning more fuel than usual. At that point, the internal wear is already done. How many minutes does your engine idle every day, without you even realizing it? If idling is silently wearing your engine right now, how long before it finally shows? Cut unnecessary idling, and you instantly add years of life to your engine. Number 9. The oil level habit that saves engines from sudden death. Most drivers assume that as long as they change their oil on time, their engine is safe. But there's a hidden danger they never consider. A danger responsible for thousands of engine failures every year. Not checking the oil level between oil changes. Engines don't consume oil suddenly. They consume it slowly, quietly, and inconsistently. Some burn a little on cold starts, some lose it through tiny leaks, and some evaporate it under high heat. You won't see smoke, you won't see stains, and you won't smell anything. But your oil level keeps dropping millimeter by millimeter. The problem is simple. Even if you change your oil every 5,000 kilometers, running low once can cause irreversible damage. Low oil means low pressure. Low pressure means metal scraping against metal. And that scraping destroys bearings, scratches cylinder walls, and overheats internal components. Check your oil level every 1,000 to 1,500 kilometers, or at least once a month. It takes 30 seconds. Wipe the dipstick, check the mark, top up if necessary. This tiny habit has saved more engines than any additive, cleaner, or expensive service. But here's where the suspense creeps in. Many engines are already running dangerously low on oil before the driver ever checks. The warning light doesn't come on until the level is critically low, sometimes too late to prevent damage. An engine can be one trip away from disaster, and the driver has no idea. When was the last time you personally checked your oil level, not just relied on a mechanic? If your oil level dropped right now, would you know before the damage began? Because the truth is harsh. Engines don't fail because they're weak. They fail because the driver didn't check the dipstick at the right time. Stay ahead of your oil level, and your engine will stay alive far longer than you expect. Number 8. The transmission fluid mistake that slowly kills your engine. When people think of engine failure, they rarely consider one of the most crucial, but invisible factors: the health of your transmission fluid. Your transmission isn't just responsible for shifting gears smoothly. It shares the burden of moving power from the engine to the wheels, lubricating countless moving parts along the way. Over time, old or degraded transmission fluid becomes acidic, loses viscosity, and stops protecting the gears. When that happens, heat builds up, friction increases, and stress transfers back to your engine. Yes, a neglected transmission can quietly weaken your engine over months without any warning. Most drivers never notice the early signs: a slight hesitation when shifting, a faint smell of burnt fluid, or a soft whining noise might appear. But it's easy to ignore. And by the time the dashboard light warns you, the damage is already underway. The engine may overwork to compensate, fuel efficiency drops, and internal parts wear faster than expected. The real secret: change your transmission fluid according to manufacturer recommendations, usually every 50,000 to 80,000 kilometers. And don't skip the filter change if your system has one. Use the correct type of fluid. The wrong viscosity or formula can reduce protection and accelerate wear. Even a small investment in fluid maintenance prevents long-term engine stress and extends the life of both engine and transmission. But here's the suspenseful truth: some engines can run perfectly for years even with degraded fluid, until one day, a sudden grinding or slipping turns a minor problem into a catastrophic failure. The warning is subtle, almost invisible, and most drivers never hear it coming. When was the last time you actually checked your transmission fluid, not just the engine oil? If my transmission is silently failing right now, how long before it starts taking the engine down with it? Treat your transmission fluid like the lifeline it is, and your engine will outlive most of its competitors. Number 7. The fuel quality trap that slowly destroys engines. Most drivers think all gasoline or diesel is the same, but the reality is far more dangerous. Poor fuel quality silently wrecks engines over time. Every engine is designed to run on fuel with specific octane ratings and chemical properties. When you use low-quality or contaminated fuel, combustion becomes uneven. Tiny deposits form on pistons, valves, and injectors. Invisible at first, almost imperceptible. Over months, these deposits grow, causing knocking, rough idling, and reduced compression. Engines lose efficiency, consume more fuel, and quietly age faster than expected. Many mechanics see this often. One tank of bad fuel won't ruin your engine immediately, but repeated exposure is like feeding metal with slow-acting acid. Carbon buildup in the combustion chamber reduces power and can eventually lead to misfires, or even catastrophic engine failure. Always choose fuel from reputable stations, ideally higher octane if your engine demands it. Use fuel system cleaners occasionally to dissolve small deposits before they accumulate. And avoid letting your tank sit half empty for long periods. Condensation can contaminate fuel, introducing water into the system. But here's the suspenseful twist: engines running on bad fuel often show no dramatic warning signs. No smoke, no strange sound. You just lose performance slowly, without noticing until one morning, the engine refuses to start, or a misfire becomes unavoidable. Have you been using fuel that slowly weakens your engine without you realizing it? If your next tank contains contaminated fuel, will you notice before it silently begins the damage? Fuel your engine with care, or risk letting invisible enemies shorten its life. Number 6. The oil change myth that kills engines slowly. Everyone knows that changing oil is essential, but most drivers still follow a dangerous myth: as long as I change it eventually, my engine will be fine. Here's the hidden truth. Oil doesn't just lubricate your engine. It protects, cools, and cleans it from the inside. Over time, oil breaks down. Heat, pressure, and combustion byproducts cause it to lose viscosity and form sludge. Old oil cannot protect moving metal parts effectively. Bearings wear faster. Pistons scrape cylinder walls. And carbon deposits start to form where they shouldn't, silently aging your engine from the inside out. Many people delay oil changes to save money, thinking their engine can handle it. And some rely only on the oil light. But by the time it illuminates, the damage is already being done. Even a single delayed oil change can reduce engine life by months or even years, depending on driving conditions. The real secret: change your oil according to the manufacturer's schedule, sometimes every 5,000 kilometers, sometimes 10,000 kilometers, and never compromise on quality. Synthetic oils often provide better protection, especially under extreme conditions, but even conventional oil is useless if it's old or contaminated. Engines often feel fine even with degraded oil. No warning, no sound, no smoke. Until one day, a sudden knock, overheating, or seizure reveals that the heart of your car has been silently deteriorating. Have you been thinking your engine is safe just because you change the oil occasionally? Regular, quality oil changes aren't just maintenance. They're the difference between an engine that lasts a decade and one that dies quietly, unexpectedly, and expensively. Number 5. The ignition system mistake that slowly ages engines. Most drivers never consider the hidden connection between their engine's longevity and the ignition system. Spark plugs, coils, and timing components are often overlooked until the engine starts misfiring. But by then, damage has already begun. Here's the truth. Worn or faulty spark plugs don't just reduce performance. They stress your engine. When a spark plug misfires, the cylinder fails to ignite fuel completely. This leads to unburned fuel entering the exhaust, raising temperatures and creating carbon buildup on pistons and valves. Over time, this reduces compression, causes rough idling, and accelerates internal wear. Even a single misfiring cylinder repeatedly over weeks can shorten engine life dramatically. Most people replace spark plugs only at the suggested mileage interval, or even later. But driving conditions, short trips, cold starts, high load, or cheap replacement parts can make plugs wear out faster. And once misfires start, the engine works harder to compensate, silently creating friction and heat where it shouldn't. The real secret: inspect your ignition system regularly. Replace spark plugs before they show extreme wear. Check ignition coils for cracks or carbon tracking. Use the correct gap and quality parts. These small steps reduce stress on the engine and prevent slow deterioration that is otherwise invisible. Now consider this. How many times have I ignored that slight hesitation or misfire, thinking it's just the car acting up? What if those tiny misfires are already shortening my engine's life without me realizing it? Engines rarely fail all at once. They die slowly, quietly, piece by piece. Keep your ignition system healthy, and you prevent hidden stress that slowly kills your engine. Number 4. The coolant neglect that slowly warms your engine to death. Engines are designed to run at precise temperatures, but most drivers ignore the system that keeps them in check. The coolant system. Coolant isn't just water with color. It's a carefully balanced mixture that prevents overheating, fights corrosion, and transfers heat efficiently. Over time, the protective chemicals in the coolant degrade. Old coolant becomes acidic, allows rust to form inside the radiator, hoses, and engine blocks, and reduces heat transfer efficiency. This is where the silent danger begins. Even a slightly compromised coolant system can cause the engine to run hotter than normal. Not enough to trigger the warning light, but enough to warp gaskets, crack plastic parts, and weaken the metal internally. The result? A gradual, almost invisible decline in engine life. The real secret: flush and replace coolant every 2 to 3 years. And check the system for leaks or sediment. Use the correct type specified by the manufacturer. Small, cheap maintenance prevents catastrophic engine stress later. Engines can run slightly hot for months without showing any obvious symptoms. No smoke, no smell, no ticking noise. And then, One day, a sudden spike in temperature or a burst hose can cause instant, severe damage. When was the last time you truly flushed your coolant, not just topped it up? What if your engine is already slowly overheating without you realizing it? Protect your cooling system, and you protect your engine from a slow, silent death. Number 3. The hidden danger of neglecting oil filters. Most drivers change their oil, but very few pay attention to one small, yet crucial component: the oil filter. The oil filter is more than just a strainer. It removes microscopic debris, metal particles, and sludge from circulating oil. Without it, these contaminants grind against the engine's moving parts, causing friction and wear that slowly destroy bearings, camshafts, and pistons. Here's the harsh truth: changing your oil alone isn't enough. Even fresh oil can't do its job if the filter is clogged or old. A blocked oil filter reduces oil flow, causing low pressure in critical areas. Metal-on-metal contact quietly escalates, silently shortening your engine's lifespan. Many engines fail from neglecting this single, small component, and you'd never notice until the damage is too advanced. The real secret: always replace the oil filter with every oil change. Don't rely on cheap or generic filters. Use high-quality, manufacturer-recommended ones. This ensures smooth oil flow, removes harmful debris, and keeps internal components protected for thousands of kilometers. But here's the suspenseful truth: some engines operate seemingly fine even with a partially blocked filter. There's no noise, no smoke, no sign of trouble, until one day the oil pressure drops suddenly, or the engine knocks under load. That's when the invisible damage becomes painfully obvious. When was the last time you checked or replaced your oil filter? Not just your oil. What if your engine is quietly wearing down right now because of a filter you overlooked? A healthy oil filter protects your engine from silent destruction. Ignore it, and you're gambling with its life. Number 2. The air intake neglect that slowly strangles your engine. Most drivers think air is just air. It flows in, mixes with fuel, and powers the engine. But in reality, clean, unrestricted airflow is critical to your engine's survival. Neglecting the air intake system is one of the quietest killers, and it happens gradually, almost invisibly. Every engine relies on a precise mix of air and fuel. A restricted intake reduces oxygen supply, forcing the engine to compensate by burning more fuel. Over time, this imbalance creates carbon deposits on valves, pistons, and spark plugs, reducing efficiency and increasing wear. Your engine works harder, overheating internally, and aging faster than expected, all while appearing fine to the driver. Most people only notice problems when performance drops or fuel consumption spikes, but by then, internal wear is already underway. Even a small restriction, a dirty air filter, blocked intake duct, or worn sensor, can start this chain reaction. The real secret: inspect and clean your air intake system regularly. Replace air filters according to the manufacturer's schedule, and check ducts and sensors for obstructions. A free-flowing intake improves combustion, protects your engine from carbon buildup, and ensures it lasts far longer than a neglected one. Engines can run normally, even with partial intake blockage for months. You won't hear a strange sound, smell anything unusual, or see a warning light, until one day the performance drop is sudden and undeniable. That's when you realize the damage has already begun. How long has your engine been running with restricted airflow without you noticing? Keep your air intake system clean, and you'll prevent slow, invisible damage that quietly shortens your engine's life. Number 1. The oil quality trap that slowly destroys engines. Everyone knows oil is essential, but very few understand the real impact of using poor quality or degraded oil. Most engines fail, not because of mechanical defects, but because their oil has silently betrayed them over thousands of kilometers. Engine oil is more than lubrication. It cleans, cools, and protects every moving part. Over time, heat, friction, and combustion byproducts break down the oil, causing it to lose viscosity and its protective properties. Low-quality oil accelerates this process, allowing microscopic metal particles to grind against engine components. Bearings wear faster, cylinder walls scratch, and pistons begin scraping, all silently, long before you notice any symptoms. Many drivers rely on cheap oil or extend oil change intervals to save money. They assume the engine will tolerate it. But each neglected change is like a slow poison, invisible at first, cumulative over months. By the time you see performance drops, hear knocking, or smell burnt oil, the internal damage is often irreversible. The real secret: use high-quality, manufacturer-recommended oil and change it at the intervals specified in your manual. Synthetic oils may cost more, but they provide superior protection under extreme conditions. Combine this with regular monitoring of oil levels, and you can prevent wear, overheating, and premature failure. But here's the suspenseful truth. Engines can run smoothly for thousands of kilometers, even as poor oil silently corrodes their internal components. There's no sound, no vibration, no warning, until one day, catastrophic failure strikes seemingly out of nowhere. Are you really using oil that protects your engine? Or are you gambling with cheap alternatives without realizing the risk? If your engine has been running on degraded oil for months, how much damage has already been done without you even knowing? High-quality oil and timely changes are the single most effective way to give your engine a chance at true longevity.